Sorry, I'm eating one of these candies from Sabrina.
You're good.
What do you think Germany tastes like?
Rules. Stiffness. Strict. I don't know.
A dark past.
It's hard. German chocolate's supposed to be like some of the best chocolate, right?
I think so.
One of my favorite ever lifetime meals was in Germany. I had some schnitzel and just a big like fried pork chop, and I mean it was like the size of the plate. I was 17 years old, so at the time I was able to eat 1.5 of them with no consequences.
And then you got out before the Great War happened.
Yeah, the first one.
I went to a Kindle market recently in Colorado, which is like a Polish and German market for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I went to a German place and I had a doner fries thing, and it was like lamb and beef with like the kind of the sauces you'd get at Middle Eastern places on top of fries, and it was incredible. I was like blown away by it.
You love a good slop on fries, huh?
Oh my god, the poutine! I love
the
it all.
sloppier, the better.
Yeah.
It was so sloppy.
Yeah.
And we had it on a rickety table, and it turned over, and it all got all over me and everything.
Oh,
It
and
really happened.
you were rock hard.
That
when
did
it
it.
happened. Yeah.
It did. And I had to wear sloppy jeans the rest of my trip.
Oh, inside and out.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Funbearable. This is part 2 of our favorite things of 2024. I am Brad Rohr.
My name is Ray. Bubbles and beeples. These are a few of my favorite things.
I was thinking the same
What
thing.
are the things that he listens
It's
to?
like
Raindrops and
babies
Roses.
and puppies. They're tied up in that's not right.
Guppies.
Yeah. It's not
Right?
that. Something is tied up in string though.
Simple brown packages.
Boobies and buttholes.
Simple brown packages are your favorite? That sounds like a Brad favorite.
Yeah.
Well, it was written how many years ago?
Okay. I'm Chuck. My favorite things are much more extravagant than that statement.
Yes. We are recording part 2 of our Funbammies.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about shows, TV, streaming type shows. We're going to talk about music, including live shows. We're going to talk about books, and we're going to talk about personal stuff.
Yeah.
In this episode, first half was movies, restaurants, video games, and podcasts. If you haven't already checked that out, please do so. If you like. I mean, no pressure.
It's long.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Does
of
that
talking.
help? Are
Yes.
you intrigued?
Yes.
Some people are.
What a sales pitch.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to do TV first.
We're going to start with TV/streaming. Biggest surprise. Ooh, what jumped out at you? I think this might have been Ray's biggest surprise last year. It was my biggest surprise this year. How much I enjoyed Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
Where I was like, they don't need to make Twisted Metal into a show.
They
How are they
don't.
going to do it? And it was so enjoyable.
Right?
Yeah.
Such a surprise.
Really,
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed it. Big surprise for me.
I had kind of a similar thing where because we were doing the Child's Play stuff, I watched the Chucky TV show, which doesn't make sense to me to be a serialized story. Mm-hmm. I watched season 1 and I thought it was great. I thought they did a great job.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They let people who care about it kind of live in the world, and that's fun, and I think that's probably why.
Yeah. I liked how Chucky got his groove back.
And me too. Oh, yeah.
Unexpected way he does.
Yes.
Voodoo.
Murder.
Second biggest surprise, I really loved the quality of the McMahon documentary that Netflix made. Mm-hmm. But when they were making it, all of a sudden all the allegations came out, and they were going to kind of shift it to cover those.
And that was about Ronald McDonald, right?
Exactly.
McMahon.
McMahon.
And
That's
all
right.
the allegations.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you think all of those play places suddenly disappeared?
Exactly.
I like the Grimace is one of the witnesses, but it's
It's all blurred out.
silhouetted.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That shape is either one person or the uncle of that person.
Yeah. Oh, the Nuggets they got cut out of All Quiet on the Set or whatever. Yeah, they got cut out of
Yeah,
it.
the Nugget kids.
Yeah, they said they can't. Nobody will take it seriously.
They were right.
No one wants to see a Nugget cry.
So
Sweet and sour.
they didn't have any information really to me. It was just like these allegations came out, and then they just continued on a documentary, and it was like they really didn't incorporate that into the
Yeah.
movie, into the series like whatsoever. Like I said, very well done, but really like I think advertised.
Yeah, the elephant in the ring.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They didn't acknowledge the elephant in the ring.
Exactly. They acknowledged it, and then they gave me no information that I didn't know from reading one paragraph on
What's that elephant doing in the ring?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is he the heel?
There you go.
I don't know.
Ray gets it.
I don't know. Is he going to get a movie career and talk about verticals? My biggest surprise.
You know, I never heard verticals before you said it.
Really?
Yeah. What does it mean? It means like people coming to see it, so it adds up.
No, it means that there are multiple like streams of appeal. Like this works for this.
It's
group.
like
this works
it's
for
a
this.
4-quadrant thing,
and it works well. Not the 4-quadrant is different because this works well because it ties in with this, and it's a vertical. It can go all the way up the fucking ladder. It's all
weird.
It's terrible. It's all bad. My biggest surprise was Agatha All Along on the Disney Plus.
Yes.
When I heard about it, I was like, no, I'm good. Love Catherine Hahn.
Yeah.
Big fan of Catherine Hahn. She was also in a series that was on Showtime with Steve Coogan that didn't get the respect that it deserved. Happy. It was really, really great. Happy-ish. Sorry, Happy-ish.
Yeah.
Very, very good. I loved it. And Agatha All Along, like on the surface, I was just like, no, this isn't going to work. And I was really surprised by how fun it was, how good it all worked together, and it really played out nicely. And I have to point out, just to be a little stickler, B word,
Please. You can say it. It's my name.
bitch.
I was hoping for Stickler Bradley.
So, damn. How do you read my birth certificate? That thing's falling apart. It's written on parchment in blood.
That's all they had at the time.
And it's just hieroglyphs. No, I have to point out, I think one of the elephants in the room for this is it is so not connected. I mean, it has a connection to WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's there, but it's tenuous at best. It could very easily be a standalone thing.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I think that's the lesson that like Disney won't learn.
Right.
Like, hey, it doesn't have to be like a DLC for this franchise.
Right.
It can be its own thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it's at its best. And so, yeah, it was really enjoyable. It was fun.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
Favorite comedy special?
I don't think I watched a comedy special this year.
My favorite was Neil Brennan's Crazy Good, and my runner-up was Sam Morril's You've Changed. And the Anthony Jeselnik special is also great.
I don't have a stand-up special for favorite. Multiple reasons. Number one, I don't actually watch a lot of stand-up comedy specials.
Right.
I'm a comedian. I see a lot of comedy. That's what I do all day, and it feels weird to like come home from a show and be like, let's watch a stand-up show. And so I'm kind of picky about it.
Yeah.
And it would also feel weird being like, this was my favorite
Yeah.
one, and then I'm like, yeah, I really liked Kyle Kinane's new special. It's like, well, he's my friend.
Yeah.
Yes, I liked it. But I will say my favorite singularly unique comedy.
Great.
Because I can't quite say it's just a show. And that is Fantasmas by Julio Torres, and it's on HBO. And it was a really wonderful show, incredibly unique, which is what Julio Torres does all the time. His show was so good, it uses the structure of the show in a fun way. It feels like it's a stage play. You see interesting ways of using like a set to create a scene, right? Like having people walk around and it's supposed to be outside, but having a projection of the sidewalk and playing with that and doing it on purpose.
That's fun.
Right?
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
That's
and
fun.
It's really great, and the loose premise doesn't even need to be a thing. It's really just an excuse to go thing to thing. Every episode was really wonderful. My wife and I loved it. Fantasmas, Fantasmas.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Favorite comedy show. I wish I could have chosen something else just for variety's sake, but Taskmaster UK continues to kill it. It's so entertaining. It brings me so much joy that I have to single it out.
I see a Taskmaster for me. It's not on the list because it's just like a continual thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I get what you mean. My favorite comedy is a new comedy, and that was The English Teacher on
Oh, that's
FX.
right. Yep.
Genuinely,
Yeah.
so good. There's two stand-up comics that are in the show that I am buddies with. One more than the other. Langston Kerman, he's awesome, and he's really good in the show.
Yeah.
But the show itself was so good. I wanted to see it because I know FX is like that's a high bar for me. If FX is doing it, chances are it's probably good.
Yeah.
And it's great. The closest thing I can use for a comparison is probably, unfortunately, South Park for one of the ways it's using the world.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like there's an episode. It's about an English teacher at a high school. And they have some really fun stuff in there. He's a gay guy. One of his friends is the gym teacher, played by Sean Patton, stand-up comic. He's great.
Yeah, I know him.
Who is more like you would think he's like a red state Trump guy, right?
Yep.
And there's an episode where they bring back the gun club for high school. And, our English teacher shows up at work that day. He's walking down the hall, hears gunshots, drops his coffee, tries and grabs kids, bring them in the room, finds out it's the gun club,
Yeah.
right? It was really good. And
Yeah.
he's saying it shouldn't be there. We
Yep.
shouldn't have this with mass shootings. Sean Patton, as the gym teacher who's running the gun club's like, oh, so there's a lot of guns around? Maybe they should know how to use them without getting hurt,
Yeah.
right? So they play in that space with a lot of different things in the show.
Yeah.
But the main point is it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember
Yeah.
jokes?
I do.
In a comedy show?
Yeah.
There are so many good fucking jokes. Set up, punchline.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's really great. I'm so excited. I hope they get another season. The English Teacher.
Nice.
Great. I don't know where to put this, so I put Agatha All Along in between comedy and drama. I don't
Yeah.
really know exactly what it
They
is.
call that a dramedy.
But it's
Or
not
a
even
comma.
dramedy. Yeah. And
Which is confusing.
It's one of the two. It's up there. I really thought Agatha All Along was great, just much like you said.
Yeah.
So it's between comedy and drama, and I don't know what.
Speaking
Nice.
of wedging, can I wedge one more thing?
Please do.
Biggest hopeful surprise. Not just a regular surprise, hopeful. Meaning, oh boy, I hope this is good. Likely it won't be. And that's Fallout on Amazon. The Fallout
Oh,
TV
yeah.
show?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yes.
I
I know. I want to watch it.
like when they announced it, I was like,
Yeah.
like I think it's crazy to even try and do a TV show in that universe.
Right.
Yes.
Let alone try and be accurate to the stuff that's in the games.
Right.
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And every episode was so fun to watch. It was cool because my wife, she doesn't really know much about Fallout. She's never played the games.
Right.
All she knows is stuff I've said.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, I'm playing Fallout. You know,
Yeah,
stuff like
of
that.
Buy me a gaming PC.
All she knows is how to flinch really quick,
Yeah.
and but because I throw the controller, and so it was cool to watch it as a Fallout fan and be like, that's from the game, and
Yeah.
they did it. But for her, she's like, oh, I don't know any of that stuff, and this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Great.
can be somebody who doesn't know anything about Fallout and really enjoy it because she loved it.
Yeah.
Or be a super Fallout fan and still love it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, Walton Goggins, I'll watch him.
Yeah.
I'll watch him paint a fence.
He was great.
Yeah. That's good. I really wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
Favorite drama. I only watched a couple this year, so I guess the runner-up was Bodies. But my favorite drama, which I just finished, I watched it over the past week.
Bodies was great, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
was Ludwig, BBC show, perhaps Ludwig, and it's weird because it's kind of a procedural, a detective procedural. Hey, like there's a murder. This guy has a quirk, and he's going to solve it using his quirk. But it works. It works. It feels like fun to watch. And, like any show, you're like, oh, I think I know who did it, but how did they do it? That kind of stuff. And then there's an overarching story for the first 6 episodes. I did read that it got renewed for a season 2, so I'm excited to see what comes in the future of that.
That's exciting.
show.
Whoever recommended that to you must be
Pretty sure it was
awesome,
Chuck. I'm pretty sure it was
you
Chuck.
know?
Yeah, it's usually me.
Yeah, it's, Chuck is always
He
with
loves
the British TV
British
shows.
murder mystery show
Yeah.
starring David Mitchell.
Yeah.
He loves David Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get enough.
Can't get enough. No, that is a great show. I love
Yeah.
Ludwig. But I think you can say it. The gimmick is that he's a man played by David Mitchell who is a puzzle maker.
Yeah, he makes
right?
cryptics. He makes
Yeah.
crosswords.
Crossword
He does
puzzles,
the
stuff like
jumbles,
that.
like all of the those.
and views the murder mystery as a puzzle.
Yes.
It was delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, Agatha All Alone kind of fills. I don't know where
Right.
it falls, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
I have favorite historical drama.
Ooh, okay.
Shogun on FX.
Ooh,
Again,
good
I
things.
wanted to watch
Yep.
that too.
Shogun, it was great. It was really, really wonderful. I think it. Yeah. What can I say about it? You know what I mean? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It was really good. Shogun is wonderful. The performances were killer. It's a beautiful show, and I'm excited that it might come back. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Nice. Favorite episode? I said it was the Tower episode of Agatha All Along, in which we get some clarity on cryptic things that had been said throughout the series, and kind of play around with the concept of time travel. And the new Rockstar's commentary, breaking it down, kept comparing it to the episode of The Lost, The Constant, which is one of my favorite episodes of Lost, and so it made sense that this one hit me in a similar way. So I enjoyed the Tower episode.
It's super not fascinating. It's super satisfying.
Yes.
that episode, because throughout the run up to that episode, there's a specific character saying a few things.
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
like,
I
And I had
know.
said to Kalina when we were watching it, I'm like, this is what I think it is.
Yeah.
And then we got to that episode, and it was what I thought it was,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
was
wow.
thrilled.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
because I'm like, yes,
I
this
thought
is
that
how
was
you
great.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so satisfying.
It was awesome. I'm just going to combine favorite overall show and favorite episode. I hadn't watched Rick and Morty since the voice changes.
Yep.
And I ended up watching everything, catching up. And I'm like, the writing is not only as good, but possibly better.
I would
and
agree.
More nuanced and more interesting and more intricate. And the Eternal Sunshine episode of Rick and Morty was so well done that Rick and Morty is my overall show of the year. Just because I watched so many episodes of it and thought the quality was just so consistent.
Yeah.
And that one episode and the way that they took, an adult animation cartoon and played with that idea and ran through memories and stuff
Yeah.
was so great. And their specific comedic voice was so prevalent. It was just such a great execution, I think.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite episode. It seems really difficult to
Yeah.
pare it
Yes.
down to that. So I also have, I just said previous favorite historical drama.
Right.
My favorite or historical drama.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Favorite?
Yeah.
I mean, it's our podcast. We make the rules.
That's fair. Another FX show, and it was Say Nothing. It was fantastic, so good. It's essentially a mini series.
Yeah.
There's not a season 2 to this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's based on real events, and it's covering the Troubles
Yeah.
in Ireland, and it's based on a book of the same name.
Yeah.
I loved it. It follows a young woman becoming an IRA member.
Yeah.
and it goes through some of that stuff, and it gives you an understanding of where they were coming from and why they were fighting the way they were fighting, which is difficult. The Troubles are. It's so hard to parse them. It's
Yep.
so hard to go through, and there is no like, here's the bad guy.
Right.
There is no, this side is wrong.
Yeah.
Both have done things that are bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
I understand why they started fighting against it. I understand all of it. So for this to be nuanced and show you why someone would be motivated to become an IRA member, show you why they were doing some of those things, and then also show you the effects of that and why you would maybe, as you go through this, start to doubt that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it goes through. It was very unexpected. It starts in the 70s, and it goes all the way to the 90s, and which was very unexpected to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Say Nothing on FX, fantastic miniseries.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
My favorite overall show, not really a show, Dropout TV. Watching those lovely little improvisers, doing their silly make-em-ups. As an improv guy, I'm like, oh, I see this and I appreciate what goes into it. I love a good game show, a good goofy game show, and they deliver that in spades. And just having the chance to see it, part of me is like, I'm jealous. I want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But part of me is like, well, I'm not that good. And then part of me is like, maybe my comedic voice is just different than theirs, and it's not a matter of good.
You were telling me you were watching it and you said, they should hire you because you said you're better than all the women on the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say that about any show I watch.
Yeah, that's
like,
Wow, that's wild.
remember when I auditioned for Wheel of Fortune and to be Vanna White's replacement?
That is true.
You
I
remember his
that.
movie review of Little Women?
Yeah. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, it
that
really
definitely-
was.
Said nothing.
How
of
about
the
a big man?
Yes. Give me a movie called Big Man. I could star Kevin James. I said nothing bad about any of the
I know,
improvisers
we're
on
goofing.
Dropout. But yeah, it's just entertaining, and it's a thing that I'm on, and it's comfort food, and with a little aspiration in there to see them like fully commit to these things and make these decisions and go for these like weird choices that I'm like, oh, my brain didn't go there. My brain went here.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see. So I've watched a lot of Dropout this year. It started with YouTube clips and advanced to the subscription
That's
service.
how they get you.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
We're on favorite show?
Favorite overall show?
Total?
Yep.
And that's the last one?
Yes.
I don't have a top notchy.
Yep.
I got a couple of them I'm going to blast through real quick.
Sure.
Favorite comedy that came to a close. What We Do in the Shadows. This last season this year was delightful.
Yep.
And what I really appreciate is they kind of proved like we're not ending because we're out of ideas.
Yeah.
Right? They still had ideas. It's still delightful. And that is a show that, as a comedy, I think should get some credit for just being pretty fucking wild
Yeah.
for a concept. Just to pitch. Thank God the movie existed so they could be
Right.
like, look, we're going to do that, but it's a show.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's like, oh, this is a documentary show like The Office, but we're going to acknowledge the camera more, and it's vampires living together.
Right.
It shouldn't be what it is, and it's fantastic.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that. My favorite thing that I watched with Finn.
Okay.
That's an important one, right?
Yep.
He's 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so we see a lot of stuff that I'm just like, whatever,
Yeah.
he likes it. It's not trash. We'll watch it. But every once in a while, there'll be something where I'm like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, hey, can you not watch that without me? Can we
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
it together?
yeah, exactly, yeah.
X-Men 97.
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
know.
So good. Really,
know.
really wonderful. Choked me up a couple of times.
know.
It's so good. I highly recommend that. It renewed my enjoyment of the X-Men.
That's
and it
good.
made
Good.
me read a bunch of X-Men comics. And
Nice,
I
that's
appreciate
great.
that. And then last, favorite, Can't Believe This Is So Good. Because I figured it was going to be good, but I was really surprised at the level. And that's The Penguin.
I know.
I
And
still
I
haven't
thi-
watched that. Yeah.
That's why. Okay, I was surprised that neither of you got to the Penguin in your lists,
I was watching,
and that's
I
why.
was watching Dropout.
Yeah,
I wanted to so bad. I wanted to watch The Penguin so bad.
and someone held a gun to you and said you couldn't, or
I literally, I swear to God, it's just I don't sit down alone and watch shows. I just
Yeah.
don't. It's just a thing that in my life, like now I'm in a relationship, so hopefully when Natalie moves here, we can watch stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
But she's far away, so I just feel guilty sitting down on my couch alone in my apartment,
Yeah.
and watching a show.
No, I get that.
feel
I get
bad.
that. Yeah.
I want to see it so bad.
Yeah.
I thought that Colin Farrell in The Batman was
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
well, the show on its surface, it doesn't sound like that should work either.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a spin-off of the latest Batman,
Yeah.
which was kind of a reinvention, and it's
Yeah.
going to take one of the villains and explore that. And I didn't have the highest hopes for it, but I was excited because I love Colin Farrell. I think he's a fantastic actor. And I thought Matt Reeves' Batman was really great.
Yeah.
I was shocked with the show. It is so good. The performances from... There's 4 kind of main people that are the crux of this show. And unfortunately, I think the kid gets kind of pushed aside because the other 3 performances are so amazing.
Yeah.
And I got to give it... Like, Colin Farrell is swinging for the fences with this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And gets, like, outshined by the 2, co-stars of the show.
Right.
And I feel like a piece of crap for not knowing their names. I forget.
I feel like one is Kristen Melody. It was
Maloney.
Oh, yeah, she's great. She's awesome.
Oh, she's amazing in the show.
She's in Palm Springs.
Yeah, and she was the mother in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh, we don't talk about that.
I never watched the last season.
That's good. That's a good choice that you've made. I swear. But no, she is incredible in this, right? Like unbelievable. But the woman playing the Penguin's mom,
Yeah.
Oz's mother,
Yeah.
is that is a performance that is like, just stop everything and watch her,
Yeah.
right? Just watch her perform as a woman who has raised and created this, villain,
Yeah.
the Penguin, and also has dementia and is suffering from that. The ride that you go on with her performance is insane.
Yeah, I can't wait. I
Yeah,
gotta see it.
it's amazing. And
All I hear is good things.
yeah, Kalina pointed out to me in an interview, they had everybody kind of sitting around and doing a thing, and the interviewer asked, like, which one of you improvised the most in your role, and everyone pointed to the actress that was playing the mother.
Yeah.
And Colin Farrell was like, she made up half of what she was saying, and we just had to go with it. She was incredible. And the performance is like next level. The
Yeah.
closest I can think of is the mother in Requiem for a Dream.
Wow.
High praise.
Yeah.
I gotta see
yeah.
it.
All right.
It's fantastic. And that's my whole little list.
Nice. It's a good list. Music is the next category.
All right.
We start with favorite live show. I only went to a couple with Chuck, but honestly, the experience of driving all the way to Hershey, Pennsylvania, then going to the show, then driving to Staten Island. Like we left Rhode Island at like 8:30 a.m. and got to Chuck's apartment at 3:15 a.m. To see Green Day in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Such a fun trip. Like all, and of course Green Day sounded great. They played Dookie and they played American Idiot, and these are 2 albums that I love and are important to me. Just a super, super, super positive experience.
Yeah,
Thumbs up to Chuck.
Yeah, I get to go to this tour twice. Once in Philly and once in Hershey with Brad, because of a COVID thing. And I grew up with Dookie as one of my favorite albums of all time, and seeing them play it to the level that they did now was just shocking. It was amazing. And I think probably few people are like, this is the most seminal album for me that got me into this style of music that is my favorite style. And I got to see the band play it when I was old enough to fully understand and appreciate all of that. It's probably pretty rare.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when I saw the Wiggles.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, so that was great.
Yeah.
And then I think my runners / honorable mentions, seeing Sum 41's final tour at Red Rocks was amazing. Red Rocks is an incredible venue. Seeing the NoFX final tour 2 nights in Brockton, and also Denver Ska Fest. They did that for the first year this year with Less Than Jake and Goldfinger as the top people. All of those were like extremely, extremely special, memorable shows. And I've gone to shows for years and years and years, same venues. These were all so specific and really, really wonderful. A really great time.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
For a favorite live show, I haven't seen a lot of live
Right.
shows. I'm always working when things like that happen.
Yep.
But mine is a personal one, really, and because what is music but not a personal connection, and maybe if you're lucky, a memory built, right? It is. I don't know his name. I'm glad I don't know his name. It was the man playing covers in the pub in Ireland that we were at. we had it was a live performance.
Yep.
He was playing songs, did a couple of songs that, we knew and everything was cool, and then played some, stuff that we didn't know. And Kalina really wanted to go somewhere where live music was being played and have that kind of stereotypical experience.
Yeah.
And I was amazed because we were there and we're listening. And I'm like, this is good. You know what I mean? This is a good moment we're having.
Yeah.
And then he started playing a song, and then a moment that you would only think would be written, like a movie. What this would happen, not real life. The people in the pub that were like drinking because there was a football game on that had just ended, so they were still there. They all started singing along.
Yeah.
And we're just in it. And it was just like, that's the romantic view that people think of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to go to Ireland and I'll be in a pub and a man will
Yeah.
be playing acoustic guitar, and then suddenly all of them will start singing. It's going to be and that's what happened. And
that's
it was
great.
fucking great.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
I
that was
love
that
that.
was my top one.
That's
great.
very fun. I also kind of have a little honorable mention here, which is just because we don't have a place for this.
Right.
I saw the Back to the Future musical this year, and I put that under live performances because
Yeah.
it fits there.
Yeah, sure.
And it really it brought me to tears multiple times and blew me away.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
I gotta.
Well, then I'll say that mine also is the play that goes wrong.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw that in London with my
Finn.
family. Yeah, and
Finn was a part of it.
Oh my God.
Some would say the star.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, it was really
exactly.
fantastic, and of course, comedy wise, like the writing and performances are fantastic in that show.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you get a chance to see it, I highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Nice. Favorite sad song? Speaking of Chuck's Tears, I don't know why this category is still here, but it is. Letters by Frank Turner is an immensely sad song,
Great song.
that I listen to over and over and over again. Poke the bruise of my heart. Ouch, ouch, ouch.
For me, it was Something to Someone by Dermot Kennedy. It's so, if I played it for you, you guys would probably know it. It's so good. I heard it in a store, and probably a coffee shop, and I went home and I looked it up, and I listened to it, and I teared up immediately, and I can't listen to it, but it's amazing. And my runners are Sometime Around Midnight by the Airborne Toxic Event, which
Love it.
Get 'em introduced to me. And The Invisible Parade by Tom DeLonge, which is a song I hadn't heard until this year, and it's incredible.
Feels like Sometime Around Midnight may have been a Brammy in 2010, but no big deal.
Oh my goodness. Favorite sad song?
Yep.
Old Friends by Pine Grove. It's a wonderful song. I really like it a lot. There's a lot of feelings that I can connect with in the idea of old friends. You
Yeah.
know, time having moved on. I love. There's a line in there about regretting. Like, I should have gone out more when you guys were in town, but I was too caught up in my own shit. You
Yeah.
know, I love that. And then I
course.
texted you guys about this song, and the line that was so great was, I saw Leah on the bus a few months ago, and I saw some old friends at her funeral. And it's just like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
We're getting older. It's a thing. So it was beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, it's a thing, baby.
Oh, it's a thing, Jerry. Oh, it's a thing. You gotta listen to it. This episode is brought to you by our fantastic sponsor, Narragansett Beer, right here from Rhode Island. And it is fun when a podcast has sponsorships. A lot of times it can be something that's very disconnected, right? Like a mattress from the mailbox, or therapy on the phone is a new one that they're doing a lot.
Yep.
The fact that we get to have a really wonderful national beer that is good, right? It's not one of those beers that's just like, oh yeah, we're doing it's
Yeah.
Funbearable, brought to you by them. Sorry for saying that. Bleep it out, Craig. And no, it's wonderful that we can have a company that is local.
Yes.
It is a business that is like rising and spreading.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
sounds really gross the way I said it. And is something that they get us. Like, they reached out to us.
Yeah.
And they said they wanted to be a sponsor for the podcast. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about this ad copy, but what are you going to do? Now, Brad, you have some fun Narragansett Beer facts that they sent over to you. Please
Yes.
fill my curious hole.
So their catchphrase is, "Hi neighbor, have a Gansett." That was coined by a Red Sox broadcaster, Kurt Gowdy. Do you guys have ideas for other slogans you could use for Narragansett Beer? I'll put you on the spot.
His was
Hi, neighbor, have a Gansett.
okay. Did they pay him for that?
You know what? It doesn't say
What's
if
interesting
they
is
paid him.
His nickname used to be Gowdy the Saudi, but
I don't.
Did he have oil deposits?
That's not one of my fun facts.
I don't think that's a fun fact.
It's true. Don't look it up.
That is. Well, here's another fun fact. This gentleman, Gowdy,
Kurt Gowdy?
it was actually misheard. He
Oh,
was
okay.
in the booth
Yep.
calling a game.
Yep.
And what he actually said, he saw a guy that he had beef with. It's Rhode Island. Everybody knows each other.
Yep.
And he said, "Oh, hey, neighbor, have a gander." And he pulled it out.
Oh.
He pulled out his second microphone.
So I'm glad we switched to this.
the thing is,
Yeah.
he was holding a Narragansett beer at the time, so some people misheard him.
Right. Well, also, girthy. It was like a can.
Like
It
a
was
can.
like a can. This is what you wanted, Narragansett.
I thought we were going to have a fun time bantering around possible slogans, and we got this.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do the classic Rhode Island slogan
Yep.
that everybody has.
Yep.
You ready? Small state, big flavor.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Oh, that's good.
I think an expression I didn't really hear until I moved to New England was a terrible slogan for a beer. It is what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that for a slogan for a beer.
For any product, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right?
But what is it?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I thought what you heard when you moved to New England, I thought what you heard all the time was like, "Are you okay?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a setup for one.
Oh, good.
Okay. Now, Ray has already disparaged, so I'm going to use
No,
that.
I didn't.
We bleeped it. You're right.
Okay.
I think it'd be interesting to use it in a commercial like this. Like, ready?
Yes.
Because people sometimes call these beers Gansets.
Yes, they do.
Like, they shorten it.
That's what Gowdy did.
Yeah.
Gowdy.
Saudi.
Gowdy the Saudi.
And what if someone in a commercial was like, "Hey, what kind of beer do you want?" And the guy goes, "Narragansett." Like, Nair. You know, people say that.
Jesus
Is that
Christ.
worse than mine?
God damn it.
You know what I'm talking about? Nair.
I felt bad about saying it was girthy.
I'm still going to block out both cases, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And-
And then
and-
also
and that
block
one.
out everything you just said.
Hey, you know what? There's always a good time to share a Gansett with your neighbor.
Okay, Narragansett, Narragansett.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Now I'm-
I mean,
yeah.
that was written down. It's in my fun fact email, but that doesn't
Oh, so
sound like
you
a fun
stole it.
fact. Yeah.
That's not really a fact. They
Credit
sent that
it
over
to
as a
me.
fact.
That's a slogan.
Yeah. It's
That's
bullet,
like saying,
it's
here's a
bullet
fun
pointed.
fact. Got milk?
Anyway,
the same as that.
thank you to Narragansett for sponsoring Funbearable, and we're sorry about this ad.
I'm not sorry, but I will learn from it.
Back to the episode.
I won't learn from it.
So check out narragansettbeer.com or at Gansett Beer PVD on Instagram for more information about this delicious, delicious brew. Back to the show.
Favorite song that was released as a single for me, it was Sleeping with Snails by Jetty Bones. She released 2 songs this year.
That sounds disgusting. By the way.
Yeah. I preferred this of the 2 of them. Yeah, at the bottom of the espalier. And I'm like, I am learning new vocabulary words from
Yeah.
Jetty Bones.
By the way, just so you know, the reason I'm going on my phone is because I have my Google Sheets in offline mode, and I can't click on the line to see everything I wrote.
Oh, that's funny. Okay,
It
yeah.
doesn't expand.
Yeah.
It only has the preview, so I have to figure it out on my
That's
phone.
okay.
Yeah. Just letting you know. I'm not just like...
That's all right.
blah, 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 you know.
I keep getting texts from Chuck like, Ray stinks. I can't believe Ray likes this music.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Favorite single for me was favorite single?
Yes, favorite single.
Waiting on a Twist of Fate by Sum 41.
My favorite single is Brad. Sorry, you threw shade at me. I'm going to throw a shade right back at you.
Evergreen.
And I'll just say quickly, Sum 41 is breaking up this year, and they've been a band I've really liked since
It finally worked. All those letters.
since like 2000, I don't know, 2001, 2000 maybe.
Yeah.
And I always feel like mainstream people, because they had very visible singles, they saw them from the outside as that second wave of pop punk that seemed like they're going to jump on the coattails of people like Green Day and Blink-182.
Yeah.
Along with like Simple Plan and Newfound Glory. And they just weren't that. Mm-hmm. And I think over their years where they kind of graduated to like just straight up metal and doing so much different music, it was something where I'm like, Sum 41 is an underrated band. And that's all I thought about it. And then this year I finally did this big deep dive on everything. And I found out a lot of stuff about them, really explored more of their catalog, kind of found out about their backstory. And it really made me appreciate them even more than before. And I found out they kind of abandoned their mainstream success with like labels. And this is like years ago. And they decided to just cultivate a fan base that's not based on advertising and singles and music videos because of the death of MTV and all that stuff. And it's a really interesting thing. And it really made me kind of look at them a little bit more closely as musicians. And that first single from the new album, which was announced as their final album, is like...
What was the name of the album?
Heaven and Hell.
Oh.
Yeah.
They really missed a great chance there.
What was it?
Some filler. Come on.
They called their tour the Tour of the Setting Sun, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's a first single, Waiting on a Twist of Fate, is like... I haven't heard a song like that in years. It's so good. And very weird, older song. I'm sure you guys don't know this song. I didn't know this song.
Happy Birthday?
It's called... it's going to be so dumb that I say this. It's called Club Can't Handle Me by Flo Rida. I think it came out in 2008.
Okay.
And it just hit me on this drive. And it reminded me of this time period when I used to go out and go to clubs and go to bars. And like one drive back to New York, I was like just listening to it on repeat. It's such a great song.
All right.
And it's weird because I don't know Flo Rida at all. There's another song he has
It's
called...
pronounced Florida.
there's another song that he has called My House that I think is like incredible. It's been a chammy before. You know the song.
Yep.
And I'm like, do I love this guy? I only know 2 songs from him, and I think both of them are incredible. Maybe I should listen to his actual body of work. But it's just so... If I play it for you, you're going to be like, I love this fucking song. Yeah. And it's like a club... It's like a... It's when hip-hop and straight-up dance music became like a thing for a little bit. And it's so good. It's so good. But those are my 2.
Nice.
My favorite thing about Sum 41 is looking at photos of the lead singer and his wife, like doing like a red carpet or something.
Yeah.
It is the most entertaining thing to look at because he is a very short man.
Yeah.
Yep.
And his wife is very tall.
Yeah.
So it looks like she brought her son to an event. He is the height difference is shocking. Have you seen photos like this?
Yeah, his new wife, not Avril Lavigne. Obviously, that was a long time
new
ago.
wife, disgusting.
Well, his
New wife.
His newest wife.
Yeah, not the old one. His new wife.
She left him.
Oh,
Avril left him. I'm telling you, I read the book this year because he came up with a book about the he almost
man, splitting up who gets whose Doc Martens must have been so difficult.
No, it's crazy, and I'm not
Because
going
they have the same size feet. It was a good joke on 2 levels.
That's good. That's
Jerry.
good. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but like,
Please don't.
he just basically was like, no offense, he was just such a pussy his entire career that he let so much terrible shit happen to him. And one of them was the manager of the band, like basically forcing him to have sex with him for like decades. That came out in the book, and now the guy is like, do you know about the allegations?
No.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And it's all part of this Toronto punk rock scene. So we have no fucking, it's not a mainstream thing. All these bands that came from this area, Sum 41 is the only band that really made it to the States as a big thing. But one of them was that Avril Lavigne and Derek Whibley lived in a mansion for like a year separately while they were still married. And he just didn't know how to confront her about their marriage falling apart. And she was like openly cheating on him, and the tabloids were reporting on it. And he's like, I never was able to get up the gall to ask her if it was true. And they just broke up.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? It's the craziest.
And he didn't say anything, too, when the real Avril Lavigne died and they replaced her.
yeah. He
Which
did
is
ask
crazy.
about Andrew WK.
Yeah. You know how he knew that it was different? Her Doc Martens were a half size bigger.
But it's really shocking. So yes, he is. Yeah, he's in a relationship with someone really tall, I think.
Yeah.
As Ray.
It was just funny.
No, it is funny.
The image is funny.
The image is funny.
Yeah.
There's another funny short person and tall person relationship, and I can't remember what it is, but it's very funny.
When I dated that very short girl in college.
That was it.
You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of when Hayden Panettiere dated that basketball player. Didn't she date someone super tall?
Yeah, either was a boxer, basketball.
Oh,
player?
maybe.
Well, there was that period of time where Mr. Wonka was going with one of the oops.
One of the oops.
Yeah.
I've never heard Oompa Loompa shortened.
I've also never heard Mr. Wonka.
Yeah. Well, what do you call him? Dr. Wonka? Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off.
Senator
Wonka as a Succession HBO
Ooh,
show?
it's fun.
Played by
Wonka-
Brian Cox?
Yep.
Fuck off. You want my chocolate? That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Everybody knows it's going to be Charlie that gets the factory.
Yeah.
Shut up, Shiv. Fuck you. That's amazing. I like that idea.
Do you ever watch the pitch meetings by Ryan George on YouTube?
Occasionally, yeah.
He did one for Willy Wonka, and it might be the funniest one.
Yeah.
And it's all about how Grandpa Joe is such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's very, very
Man,
well
I wish
done.
I had a time machine so I could go back and do an SNL sketch for Succession where it's Wonka.
Wonka, yeah.
That's fun.
Well, when
That's
did Succession end? Like pretty recently?
Last year.
Last year, yeah.
Last year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
2023? Mm-hmm. Damn.
And that show is fucking prestige.
I
That
know,
is top
I
notch.
know.
I don't have a favorite single.
Okay.
Favorite song for me is Pearl Jam's "Waiting for Stevie." They were in the studio waiting for Stevie Wonder to show up,
Couldn't find the door handle.
just
You
started
couldn't find the door?
just started noodling
That's what I was
around.
gonna say too.
And they wrote this beautiful song that starts with "You can be loved by everyone and not feel love." And I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
they're speaking about me. So
Wow, you think you're loved by everyone?
I could be loved by everyone. I
Nodding
could be loved by everyone.
Nodding first.
and not feel love.
charged. What are you gonna do? Lock me up?
You wouldn't do that to me, Judge.
You love me.
But yeah, it's my favorite Pearl Jam song in a decade, if
Yeah.
not longer. And yeah, that was on repeat for quite a while. So that was my favorite overall song.
That's fun.
My favorite overall song, it's tied to a memory. When I went on the cruise this
Happy
year
birthday.
to the Bahamas, they had the karaoke thing every night where everyone was on stage, and it was like set up like crazy, like a Warped Tour tent, like as big as that, in front of a crowd of I don't know how many people, maybe 1,200. And someone did "Jump in the Line" by Harry Belafonte on karaoke, and the energy of that crowd. That was also the first night I met Natalie too, and we were dancing together, so that probably has something to do with it. But the way that everyone reacted and was so into it, I was like, the experience was like electrifying. It was similar, like, the year before I had the thing at Mark's wedding when the band that was going down the street in New Orleans did.
Who let the dogs out?
They did "Who Let the Dogs Out."
Yeah.
And we finally found out.
Yeah.
No, it was
Mark Norman.
it was that song by Bruno Mars, "You're Beautiful Just the Way You Are." When I see you, and they were doing that, and that's when I realized I wanted to fall in love again. When they were playing that, and I teared up. This was probably a similar kind of thing where I was just like, everything was going really well. The mood was just so big, and everyone was having such a good time. I was like, that was my moment of the year in terms of listening to a music song like live. My runner-up is 12:59 Lullaby by, how do you say that band's name? It's not Bowden. It's almost like Bowden.
Bedouin.
Bedouin Sound Clash.
Bedouin. Like the Bedouin rebels that were fighting during World War I
Yeah.
with the actual real Lawrence of Arabia.
I don't think these are the same, like,
It's not the same
actual
rebels.
yeah, no.
So this
From
is
World War I.
This
I
is
don't
kind
think
of
so.
like this is just an acoustic song about not being able to sleep and trying to think about how your life is
so
going to go.
hot in the desert.
Yes, and it struck me. It was actually played at the No Effect show in between sets, and I was like, "What is this song? It sounds so good." And I listened. I SoundClouded it or whatever it's called. Soundhounded it. What's it called? When
Shazam?
Shazam.
It's like Shazam, but it's Soundhound.
Oh, okay.
I think honestly, every music app can do it now. Like my YouTube
Yeah,
music
yeah.
does it, and I've been
Google
listening
Maps does it for me.
Yeah, my McDonald's app does it. They changed the words to be about Big Mac.
My period tracker did.
but the song is
Hold
like
on. Oh.
it's an acoustic song. It's just absolutely beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, that's
It's
great.
It's a great song.
I don't have a favorite single song. What I have is a favorite way before my time, I finally like listened to and got band or person, right?
I have that a lot.
You know, yeah, of course, right? You go back, like for me, it was
Florida.
it was like years ago. it was the Beatles.
Yeah.
Remember, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, fuck, these
Yeah.
guys are great. It was Van Morrison.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, I fucking love Van Morrison.
I have
He's
a
great.
whole list of bands like this that I'm just like, I just want to sit down, get their discography, and just start listening and get into it. Led Zeppelin is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, I did it with Boston, and Boston was awesome.
Yeah.
But
Van
that's
Morrison,
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
really,
That's
really
great.
great.
That's great.
Just like that old, like that. I mean, today classic rock is something else, but like it, like you know, a whole band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the way that used to happen.
Yeah.
Brass, everything's going on. You know what I mean? And Van Morrison, I know he's a legend.
Yeah.
It's great, but I mean, like a top one would probably be Saint Dominic's Review is like an incredible song. If you want to start with Van Morrison,
Yeah.
start there. I mean, there's 5 million albums that
Yeah.
the man has done,
Yeah.
but his
great.
live, the album for his live performance in Belfast, killer. And I had no idea. It was weird. Went to Ireland, did all of that. Later got into Van Morrison.
Right.
Yeah.
Then found out, oh, he's from Belfast.
Wow.
And had no idea.
That's really
yeah,
cool.
Really cool.
I love that. I love the idea of just being like, I know this is going to be good. I'm just going to make it a priority to fucking start listening to
Yeah,
this.
I like
love
that idea of like finding a thing that's, you know, it's just that's before my time, but
Yeah.
then recognizing the quality that was there. Yeah.
That's great.
My favorite album of the year was Pearl Jam's Dark Matter. You know, I didn't have any issues with Gigaton, and I wonder if some of my lack of affection for that record was because it came out in like May of 2020, and you know, I didn't have a lot of positive feelings toward the world at that time. Honestly, it may have come out in late March 2020. Like
Yeah.
it was not a great time to try and enjoy things.
And all the songs were about like being with big groups of people.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, remember when we could lick
Right?
each other's tongues? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did he say remember?
Remember when handshakes used to be done with spit?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And really even going back probably a couple records before that, but Dark Matter to me has just hit me in a way that I'm like, oh, this is what I need. Like it feels as corny and cheesy as it sounds, it feels like a rock and roll record.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, this is what I want. So Dark Matter is my favorite record of the year. Favorite album of
Nice.
the year.
For me, I think just as an overall piece of art, the album, The Death of Slim Shady by Eminem, it was just such a great acknowledgement of society changing and saying, here's how I got famous. Here's what doesn't fit anymore. And here's me finding an artistic way to acknowledge that, bring it together, and move forward. It was just like so masterful and so cool and such an interesting, honest way to do that. And my runner-up is Frank Turner, Undefeated. Such a good album. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Mine is, you know, when someone is so known for something and then they do something,
Different.
yeah, really unexpected, and there's real heart to it, and you really feel it. Mine is, let me just, The Simpsons Sing the Blues.
I love that.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't have an album. I have an artist that I discovered this year, so I'll save it for artists
All right.
because
Okay.
then the albums that are within
Yeah.
that.
Favorite artist for me, I put Frank Turner.
Yeah.
You know, with the album Undefeated, not only is it like a great record, but he did acoustic versions of all of them. He did alternate versions in different languages with different artists, you
Yeah.
know, from an area that spoke that language. And it's just so impressive. And honestly, it's so impressive how much he loves music and loves performing. So Frank
Well,
Turner.
I mean, obviously, son of Tina,
Yes.
Tina Turner.
Yeah.
right.
The resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah.
His legs are so gorgeous.
And he adopted Hooch after his dad died,
Yes.
which is really
That's really nice.
it
Yeah.
really,
That's really nice, isn't it? Oh,
Man, I was struggling for another Turner, and I'm happy with the one I got.
the fact that you went with that instead of like Lana Turner, Ted Turner.
I was going historical. I was thinking Nat Turner.
I'm
and I'm
happy
like,
with Hooch. I
And
love
you
Hooch.
went with Hooch.
Could have been
Isn't that telling? I think that's a telling choice, right?
current baseball player Trey Turner. Nope. That's all right. We all have
Is Paige Turner a lady?
Adopted hooch. That's great.
That'd be really fun. A Paige Turner?
Yeah,
Paige Turner, I think, is something.
yeah, probably.
It's either a wrestler or a porn star.
Or an app.
There you go.
It's like a Kindle app.
My favorite artist, I gotta say, it was Sum 41. From
Yeah.
doing that deep dive, doing the book, and the new album was... The reason they called it Heaven and Hell is because they made one disc of punk rock and one disc of metal.
Oh.
And they combined it to
okay.
kinda...
I thought it was about his new wife.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I'm in heaven with this relationship, but I'm in hell because I could never tell you a secret in public. Because you're so far away. Psst, down here.
No, he has the can on a string.
Yeah. Come in. This is Littlefoot 1. Littlefoot 1.
Littlefoot. But again, that deep dive really made me appreciate it. And then kind of leading up to this album and then being like, we're writing an album to say goodbye, which I think doesn't always happen with bands. I think a lot of
No.
times it's like
No.
something happened.
Allegations, you mean? Probably.
Or like,
Someone dies.
They're basically on their like 12th greatest hits
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
For them to be like, they did this and they charted with all the songs that are singles and there's
Right.
like still leaving. It's really, really cool. And so that was my artist of the year, and Heaven and Hell is kind of within those albums of the year too, but I just saved it for this.
Yeah. My artist of the year is one of those things where I found it. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Still performing, still putting out albums. But I found them like it wasn't this year. Does that make
Right,
sense? I
yeah.
just found them this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took over. When I found this band, it absolutely took over. That's what I was listening to. Get in the
Right.
car, that's what I'm listening to. Played it for Kalina. She loves this band. Like, it just took over for her as well.
Okay.
And it's at a really high level. It's a band called Pine Grove. They did that Old Friends song
Yeah.
that I mentioned. I love Pine Grove. It's
Yeah.
so good. There's a little bit of feeling like a little nostalgia there for me for like what's up?
Time out. You said they're still performing,
Yes.
so they haven't succumbed to the Harrington hiatus curse.
Not yet. That's true, yeah.
Longtime fans of the pod know that when Ray gets into a band,
Yeah.
that band goes on hiatus, breaks up.
Or no, they already did.
Yeah, or they
That's
already
what
did.
It was.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Violent Soho, yeah.
I'm glad you broke the streak.
how
But
about-
so far.
How about Van Morrison? They're still active?
Van Morrison, oddly enough, still active.
Really?
No joke. Van
Really?
Morrison is he's a machine. He will not
Yeah.
die. Well, when does this come out?
Yeah.
No, Pine Grove, really, really great. It's mostly one guy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the core of it.
Yeah.
He's the songwriter, he's the singer, he's the lead. It's usually him and the drummer, and
Yeah.
then people kind of come in and
Yeah.
go. I love it. It's genre wise, it's kind of a nice mix. It's like indie with a little bit of like old country influence to it.
Yeah.
Mixed with Midwest emo.
Okay.
I'm not even an emo guy. I don't care for emo. But this is that Midwest emo. Think Bright Eyes.
Yeah.
Connor Oberst.
Yep.
And I think his songwriting is fantastic. He's an amazing lyricist.
Yeah.
And like has put out a bunch of albums. So it was really fun to go back through and follow through with all of that stuff. One of the coolest things they did as a band, and I can't recommend Pine Grove enough. I absolutely love them. But as a band during the quarantine times, they put out an album called Amperland NY. Right? They're based out of New Jersey. That's where this guy, grew up.
Yep.
And for you, I would recommend for you, Chuck, the song "Dotted Line." Listen to that this winter driving back down to Staten Island.
Yeah.
It will connect with you.
Yeah.
Truly.
Dotted
right?
Line, okay.
Dotted Line. And for you, I would recommend the song, Brad, "New Friends."
Okay.
That's a really good song, and I think it might give you a little zhuzh. right?
I'm
Little zhuzh.
I'm zhuzhless.
We got to get some zhuzh, Jerry.
Yeah.
So during the quarantine time, They, I don't know if it was like a house that somebody had that they knew. They just went to upstate New York, I believe, the whole band in this house, and they recorded this album. Some of it new, some of it stuff that they've already done.
Right.
And they filmed all of it in the house.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, it's on their YouTube channel. It's an hour and a half long. It's like a movie, and it's Amperland the movie. And it's all the songs as they were recorded in different parts of the house.
Nice.
It's all thought out. It's the coolest, like, let's do a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They thought it out to the point where everyone has, like, they're all color coded. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Like, this guitarist is all in red. The bassist, she's all in blue.
Yeah.
Like, they hit that mark. And then you go to different rooms in the house. Like, there's 2 songs that were done with him sitting on a toilet in the bathroom with a guy on the tub playing a slide guitar and everybody else in the hallway.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
great.
that. It's
Yeah.
so killer.
Yeah.
They're a great band, and that really, I love finding something like that and just being like, oh, there's like 5 albums for me to absolutely like just consume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it's cool when it's something that like my wife also falls into
For sure.
that we can kind of
Yeah.
enjoy together. Yeah,
That's great.
Pine Grove, check it out.
That's
Nice,
awesome.
nice. Very good. It's weird because as you were talking about that, I'm like, oh, I started listening to Hot Mulligan this year, and they, I didn't have a place for them, so
Hey, there you go. Oh, and real quick,
yep.
with my curse,
yes,
I feel
hiatus
good
curse.
because, and we could have a whole discussion about this, but the lead singer was in a scandal,
Uh-oh.
almost Me Too'd.
Almost me too.
Almost, because it gets fucking interesting. And I do think it's a bummer the way the press is using it now.
Okay.
When they talk about the band,
Yeah.
they talk about like now that he's done with the scandal, but they don't point out the details. So so a therapist came forward and said that he had been
Yeah, you talked to me a little about
yeah,
this.
had been, emotionally abusive to a woman in a relationship, and that woman was going to see this woman, this
Okay.
therapist woman.
Yep.
But it was the therapist that went public with it,
Not the woman.
Yeah.
not the woman involved in the story.
Yep.
Which is a
There
really
was no
weird...
physical abuse. There was nothing like that. And the quote unquote emotional abuse was, it was a bad relationship that was very short.
Yep.
He was single. She worked alongside them in some capacity. She was in a relationship. She dumped her boyfriend to start dating this guy, and it didn't work out. And that's it, right? And there's some stuff in there where he's like, I'm not proud of the way I behaved. But
Yep.
I think anybody could say that in a situation with a relationship. I'm not defending anything. I
Right.
don't even know what that stuff was. They don't really get into that. It's fucked that the therapist did that and didn't tell the woman that was going to see her.
Yikes.
That's fucked.
Lose your license, man. Get it out of here.
She also had a program that she was involved with, like a nonprofit program
Yep.
that was about like rehabbing guys that had been Me Too'd in the music industry. So she went to the label first before going to the press, saying, I won't go to the press if he agrees to come to the program,
Okay.
which is shit.
Yeah.
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 You're blackmailing this guy to go to your thing,
Yeah,
your
it's
organization's
pretty
thing.
terrible.
So he
Yeah.
didn't do it. She went public with the stuff. She also said she had another woman who would corroborate these things and that he was bad too. And it turned out that that woman, that was all a lie.
Yeah.
That was made up. And it sucks because that hit the public
Yep.
during that time. And it wasn't until later all of the truth of it came out.
Right.
Yeah.
But it sucks because even now, when somebody writes an article about Pine Grove, they're like, after the scandal, it's like, no.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
poor
yeah.
fucker, like,
Yeah.
nothing, he didn't do anything. So it's crazy. So I feel okay with the curse thing where it's like, maybe they'll be okay. But
hope so.
there's some time before this episode releases.
Yep.
What if it comes out and then he's like, actually, it was all true? I'd be like,
It was
"Oh,
bad.
Great. It's all the clues are in the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Books. Books are our next topic to discuss, our favorite books of 2024. We start with favorite nonfiction, and I chose the book Where the Waves Turn Back by Tyson Motsenbacher. He is a musician and artist. After his mother passed away, he's a California guy, he decided to walk El Camino Real. And I think he tried to do it in 50 days, and it's like 600 miles. And he did not plan well, but it's this spiritual journey to
Did he eat poison berries and die in a van?
I don't think so.
Oh, good.
He
Will he then be like heroized by everybody?
No,
because he ate berries and died when he didn't have to.
Different guy. This is also much warmer, California. But he talks about kind of like trying to process the grief and connecting with God and the universe, and it's just he's an interesting cat, and I'm like, oh, if I met him, I don't know if I'd like him initially, but because I have 250 pages to get to know him, I'm like, oh, what a great guy. He's got a great song called "Oh No, Panic Attacks," and I'm like, speaking my language, TM. But yeah, Where the Waves Turn Back, really interesting book about a journey, both physical and spiritual.
I like that.
My favorite nonfiction was Rick Rubin, The Creative Act. And I've never read anything where someone, or heard anyone talk about it, heard anyone really speak in the voice that I kind of have in my head in terms of the way I collect ideas and thoughts and think about things and incorporate them into things and let things shape the type of projects I want to do and stuff like that. And his method of kind of explaining that and trying to be as open as you can to influence has been like shocking in terms of the way that it's like putting into words a way that I feel that I think is really difficult to put into words. So if you're a creative person or you're interested in creativity, check it out.
Does he get into how he invented the sandwich?
Oh yeah.
The Reuben?
Yeah, exactly.
Tried to make it funny. I don't know. Listen, these are dense episodes.
We've
these
been
are
recording
dense.
for a long
To
time.
be clear, and viewer, listener, peek behind the curtain. We're listing off our favorite things of the year.
Yeah.
It's dry.
I think
it's hard to look at it as like an entertainment thing. I'm trying to add jokes. Some of them are going to be stinkers, like that Reuben sandwich one. All right.
I think that we so rarely do list stuff. It's really only this.
Yeah.
That I think
if we did more, I would absolutely riot.
I think that people really appreciate the suggestions, though.
For sure.
Every year we get a bunch of emails that are like, I checked out this,
I
I
am
checked out
happy
this.
to do it.
I'll
I
say
am down to do it.
You talked about the billion wishes, the
8 billion genies.
Yeah.
8 billion wishes.
Our buddy Tom, affiliated with the Tell 'em Steve Div universe today, was like, oh, I'm glad you guys are recording that. I got into that genie comic because of Ray.
That's killer. That's
Oh,
cool.
He was like, I won't listen to
Yeah.
anything Chuck says. He's like, but you and Ray.
That's sex pest. I don't want to hear about his
Yeah.
weird, looby, greasy things.
And I will say, I told Ray, like, I looked at our Spotify Wrapped because they give you one as a creator,
Yeah.
and they're like, your Funbammies episode 1 of 2024 was listened to the most out of any podcast you released.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Part of it
people
is, I think, because it has the longest time to collect listeners.
but
you know?
it's not that much longer.
I'm gonna give
50
this podcast a chance, and then they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, 52 weeks versus 50 weeks is not
Right.
that
Right,
different.
right.
That's the thing. So it's
But
like,
how many people have we lost because of what Brad pointed out?
It's just interesting.
I'm not fighting it. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
it's interesting.
My comedy instinct
Me
is
too.
to like
Yeah.
be like, you got his ass.
Me,
You got
me
his
too.
it when
That's
they
why.
want his act.
Well, when we do regular episodes, we go, all right, we have a total of 7 things, and then
Yeah.
we talk for 2 hours straight.
Right,
So that's
right.
proof that that's what we do.
And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
My favorite nonfiction
Yes.
was quite genuinely Cinema Speculation by Quentin Tarantino.
Ooh.
It is wonderful. If you are a film buff, Quentin Tarantino, is somebody sending a printer thing?
I
Yeah.
think it's just the printer noise.
All right, so the printer started making noise, and I was like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
That's a
it's
printer sighing.
We're gonna. I'm gonna go over there and it's gonna say you're fired, and I'm be like, oh,
Oh, no.
I'm wearing 2 ties.
The book Cinema Speculation is fantastic.
I know.
It's,
I gotta listen to it.
it really
read it.
goes through it's all focused on like the 70s of film.
I know.
The 70s revolution in film, which is really great, and it's all through Quentin Tarantino's perspective of like being a kid going to theaters at that time.
Yeah.
And going to theaters that he had no business going to, as like a fucking 12-year-old white boy going to a black theater to watch like blaxploitation films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the man is a weirdo.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino is a weirdo.
Yeah.
But he's the best kind of weirdo.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's fucking awesome.
the kind of like
I reject the premise of your question. I love it.
No, I
remember when he said
yes,
that?
Yes,
I love
Oh,
that.
my favorite quote is when there was a woman in a news thing. They were both being satellite brought in. Jan something, a film critic, was saying like his movies are too bloody and too violent.
Yeah.
And he's on doing this. And she's like, I just don't understand. I understand why you need all of that blood and violence. And he's sitting in the chair and like almost rises out of it. And he goes, because it's so fun, Jan. Right? And I love it so much.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, but he's a
lunatic.
He's the best kind though, because his tism of film is how he communicates. And his films are fucking great. I love them. He's like the last like director that you can put on the marquee, and that movie people are going to go to the theater to see it, Yeah. And I love him, and he's a guy who loves film.
Yeah.
So much.
Yes.
And he's excited to talk about it. So having him as the guide through the 70s film revolution is killer.
Yeah, I know.
And the fact that he has access.
Right.
He's not a writer. Or he's a writer, but he doesn't write books.
Right.
Right? He is a famous filmmaker.
Yes.
So if he has a question about Bullet, when the movie Bullet was made,
right,
and what did they do specifically with this thing, he can reach out to like the cinematographer and be like, hey, what happened with the negotiation between you and Steve McQueen for this film, and this happened? He has access. So I have never read a book so much more clearly just loving film and excited about it. And it made me excited.
Yeah.
So, cinema speculation.
And Red Man's character in Seed of Chucky was based on Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
That's why Redman was always like looking at Chucky's feet, right? He was always like, look at those little tappers. Ooh, look at those little tappers. Tick tack, tick tack. Ooh, I want to suck those little tic tacs.
Favorite comedy book? I don't have one. I didn't read anything that was specific to comedy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm good.
No,
favorite graphic novel? Same thing. I've read 0 graphic novels in 2024.
I'm going to be honest. I read a little bit.
I forgot how to read.
I'm not gonna name names or point fingers.
Yeah.
I didn't love what I read, so I don't feel comfortable putting it in a favorite category.
That's fine.
So I'm just gonna leave that blank for now.
Ooh, curious.
I like some. I didn't hate this stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you remember that I wrote and drew you that 3-episode run of Hawkeye? Did you? Did you remember that?
Yeah. What a Brad?
What about the Bible graphic novel for teens that I got you?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
And again,
look how ripped Moses was.
Like I said, I didn't hate this stuff. If I was like, this is my favorite, and then someone's like, I'm gonna check this out because Chuck said that, I'd be like,
yeah.
I'll say I know Ray was making a silly joke, but I do have,
of course,
a manga style Bible.
Of course,
a manga one.
Yeah.
Ew, is it tentacles?
It's not. No, there's no tentacles. Well,
You
there
have
might be
no
tentacles. I didn't read Revelation.
Oh my god! Look what they're doing to the burning bush.
It's I mean, all the characters are drawn in exaggerated,
big
like,
eyes,
that
and
style.
everything.
Yeah.
Did you know Jesus was Japanese?
It was a gift from our good buddy Wade. He's like, I know you like the Bible, so here you go. And I'm like, thanks.
I love that.
Oh
That's
my
fun.
God.
No, it's good. It's given and received in good spirit. But yes, I do. Have
Well,
that.
let me fill in comic book stuff.
Please do.
For both of you.
Please.
Here we go. Favorite comic book? Old.
Okay.
Meaning it didn't come out now, but I read it now.
Yes.
I will be honest with you, finding the favorite comic books was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this to you guys off mic, I believe.
Or on the first episode. It all runs together. Yeah.
Who knows? What day is it?
Yep.
It was really difficult.
Christmas Day, sir.
Oh, shit. Well, do they still sell geese?
Oh yeah.
How big do they go?
Well, we got a goose the size of me.
I want one the size of the lead singer of Sum 41.
It's a,
So small
it's a
goose.
Cornish game goose.
It's been a tough year.
Look at that pigeon. That pigeon's wearing Doc Martens. They're so tall. Okay, so yeah. It was difficult for me because I went to Alaska for 3 weeks this year, and in that time there was stuff that I couldn't do a bunch, and I had my iPad, and so if I was stuck somewhere, I did say this on the first episode, but I would read comics.
Yeah, you said that,
So I
yeah.
read so much stuff that was all back catalog.
Sure.
So, favorite comic book, old. It's a twofer. It goes Tokyo Ghost by Rick Remender and also drawn by Sean Murphy, one of my favorite comic book creators. He did White Knight.
Oh, yes.
And all of that Batman run stuff,
Yep.
which is fantastic. Which, by the way, I gave
have
you
it.
the. Oh, you have them now.
He
Okay.
gave it
Yes.
to me after he read
Perfect.
it.
All right, good. Tokyo Ghost, really, really fantastic. Kind of a, it's a neo future kind of thing,
Right.
Right. It was very, very good. Like
Yeah.
the idea of where entertainment will go, and murder for entertainment, and all of those things,
yeah.
right? This is a kind of post-apocalypse,
Got it.
right?
Yeah.
Where things have come back.
Yeah.
It was really, really great. And then also because of X-Men 97, I read a bunch of comic books that were X-Men.
That's cool.
And I have two that I have to recommend. It is Astonishing X-Men, the run that was done by problematic Joss Whedon.
Ooh. Yeah.
Listen,
No
I
sound
don't-
in space. That's the important thing.
I don't agree with Joss Whedon's behavior on set. I don't agree with the things that Joss Whedon did surrounding those things. I think he's problematic. I also have to recognize that a huge, huge swath of pop culture, even today, is due in no small part to Joss Whedon's work.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods.
I think his writing of his dialogue and character stuff, quirky things, and working with ensemble cast stuff.
Yep.
I don't think it's a stretch to say that Marvel owes so much
Yeah, of course.
of how they humanize their characters and how they interact to Joss Whedon.
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, Whedon did Avengers, the first Avengers
Right.
film.
Yeah.
And he mastered that kind of dynamic by doing Buffy, like that.
Yeah, right.
Joss Whedon's one of the ones where I'm like, if he wasn't a piece of shit, wow, what else would he have done?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate, but his run on X-Men was great. It was really, really great. Take the quality of like ensemble, everybody kind of playing together, the Scooby Gang,
Yeah.
and just apply it to the X-Men.
Right.
It worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
And then the New X-Men by Grant Morrison. That is kind of seen as one of the upper echelon ones.
Right.
And I'm really glad I read that because that is a real deep dive on I just drew a blank on her name. The villain, quote unquote, from Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
I know. It's killing me.
Cora?
No. Let's
Wow.
all sit silently and
Yep.
really think about it.
That's really weird. How
I
weird.
know, but there's a lot of stuff in there with that character, which I thought was really, really wonderful.
That's great.
So when you watch Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's in Deadpool and Wolverine, she's a variant,
Yeah.
but in the comics, Grant Morrison and all of that, she is the twin of Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was consumed in the womb by Charles.
Yep.
Yes.
And in comic book fashion, like her consciousness, her soul
Yes.
or whatever is like evil and exists outside of things until it can become oh God, I can't even, this is like hostage tape.
Yep.
I feel like this is a tape that they'll play.
Yep.
Right? This is proof of life. But yeah, X-Men, new X-Men, Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
If you want to get back into X-Men stuff, great start there. And then Astonishing X-Men, Joss Whedon. Good stuff.
Nice.
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 Great.
Oops, those were
did-
just the olds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you have news?
I'll go faster. Oh God. Yeah, favorite new comic book this year. I got to give it to a few. If you like a good murder mystery kind of thing, Where the Body Was by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Ed Brubaker's
Love
classic.
Brubaker
Phillips.
Yeah, it's great.
Love it.
That's a really wonderful. Here's a little, basically like a little small town street, dead body on the ground,
Uh-oh.
and how everybody reacts to that.
Yep.
Because when the police get there, the body's gone. Who done did?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Right? It was a fun story. I mean, Brubaker, the guy releases like 7 comics a year, for like full runs.
Yep.
Great stuff. There's one that I'm looking forward to that I haven't gotten to yet. And then Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath.
I do like the rhyme. Yeah.
In the vein of a murder mystery. This was fantastic. It's a very unique book. It was just a quick, simple read, like to go right through. It goes all the way through. Picture whatever the town is called by Richard Scarry. Those
Okay.
Yeah,
books,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the Richard Scarry. What is
Yeah.
that called?
I have no
I think
idea.
it's like the Little World of Richard Scarry or something.
Yeah,
World
like
of Richard
Fun
Scarry.
Town or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But anthropomorphic animals doing their jobs, right, in this little town, this little woodland area. Now, what if Dexter lived there? That's
Uh-oh.
what this is.
Yeah.
And
That's how Black Sad is, and Black Sad is a French comic, and it's fucking awesome.
yeah, so this was it was great. You know, our main character is a bear who works in a hardware store, owns the hardware store, and it's a beautiful little community. Everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
And she is a serial killer, and she goes out of town to do so.
Oh, good. Well, yeah.
To the big city.
NIMBY, right?
Yeah, well, she does it to keep her. She knows her town is such a beautiful, idyllic place.
Yep.
She
She wanna-
keeps the innocence.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
And
that's
then,
a great take.
And then a very public body is left somewhere by someone, and it's ruining the town for her. And that's what I like about it.
That's
Because
cool.
now everybody's afraid, everybody's
really
cool.
talking about it, and
Yeah.
she is going to hunt down this killer.
That's cool.
It was a great story. I really liked it a lot. It's very fun. And, taking those like images of, where, like
Yeah.
the Richard Scarry stuff. And
That's
then
cool.
you have serial killers. It's a lot of fun. That's it for the comic books.
Nice.
Thank you for letting me blather about them.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm going to do some blathering up here. Favorite author?
Favorite verse from the Bible.
John
This
3
is contentious.
The one with tentacles.
The missing page from the front.
Yes.
It says, "For Laura, hope you like it. This is very funny."
Signed JC. Favorite author? I read a lot this year.
John Cena?
Not as much as last year.
Trying to think of a JC.
Yeah, but
Just like
I
God, you don't see me.
I got through fewer books, but almost as many pages. Right around 46,000 pages.
Okay.
But just some authors and book series that stood out. Chuck Wendig, who has written a bunch of stuff. He wrote a book that came out in February of 2020 about a virus that took over America, and it dealt with like the rise of white nationalism and AI.
Oh boy.
And it's called Wanderers. Great book. That's what got me into it. I've read some other stuff, but then it's a 6-book run, and I wish I could remember the name of the actual series, but all the books are named after birds. And it's a woman who, when she touches people, she sees how they're going to die.
Okay.
And
Ooh, that sounds very late 90s network TV.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And can she do something to stop that death? And
Right.
I don't know. It's 6 books. Really enjoy them. I read the Malazan Book of the Fallen series and the novels of the Malazan Empire. Now, Book of the Fallen, 10 books, all, I don't know, somewhere between 800 and 1,300 pages. Novels of the Malazan Empire, a little bit shorter, but it is insanely ambitious. They drop you into the world and give you no explanation. And everyone's like, well, it's better when you read it a second time. And I'm like, it's 13,000 pages. I'm not going to read it a second.
Yeah.
But like in the first 50 pages, a wizard like dies and he knows he's going to die. So he casts his soul into a puppet. But the puppet
Oh, I've seen
is
this.
still murderous.
Chuck
but
loves this.
Yeah, then this other wizard, this lady wizard, like
If you do voodoo, you're a wizard.
The
Yeah.
lady wizard. Did she look and sound like Jennifer Tilly?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No, it's,
You're a
it's,
wizard.
it's weird. And again, that's,
Oh my God, you're a wizard.
it's weird because it's so good and so ambitious and so like deep.
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you have so much room to get to so much lore.
Yeah.
But they're like, all right, here's this character. We'll just call him Ray, and he's an amazing fighter. And Ray has to be like protected because if he starts fighting, he's not going to stop.
Yeah.
So he has to be like protected from fighting. Then
Once you pop, you can't stop.
then there's
That's
this
what
character
Ray
we'll,
says.
we'll call him Chuck, and he's a really good fighter, and he's like half a giant, and he's killing his way through town, and they meet, and
I'm
everyone's
half a
like,
giant.
oh my gosh, these two cannot fight, and this is like
Because
Yeah.
they're too good at fighting?
they're both too good, and they will just
They'll fuck.
It'll destroy the world.
yeah, it's too
Ray and
exciting.
Chuck. And that's book like 4.5. They meet, they almost fight, and then they go away, and everyone's like,
That does not sound like a selling point.
right.
Book 4.
No,
4.5.
It's 4.5. These two guys, they're like the best fighters.
I'll-
And everybody's like, don't let them fight. They almost fight, then they don't fight. That's book 4.5.
This is why it isn't my favorite series of the year. They get to book 8, and they're like, oh, there's this unkillable emperor, and he's fighting his way through the best fighters in town. So he brought all
The idea of the best fighters.
the best
But
fighters
now there's
here.
this other emperor that can always kill.
Right.
What happens when can God make a boulder so big he can't lift it?
I'll say this: the unkillable, great fighting emperor.
Yeah.
The funerary tradition is that they press coins into the dead body, and so they thought he was dead, and so he's covered in coins.
Okay.
Which is just a cool
Sure.
like visual.
Yeah.
So Chuck and
Jingle
Ray
jangle.
are waiting to fight this unkillable emperor, and I'm like, ooh, they're gonna fight, and it's Itchy and Scratchy on their way to the fireworks factory.
yeah,
funny.
And they never fight. At least in this main series, they never fight. Now, Chuck goes off in a spin-off series because he wants to destroy civilization. Maybe they fight in those books. But
Maybe.
I was so disappointed
Yeah.
in that. Ultimately, it is about...
Come on.
Yeah, that's ultimately it is like the message is about like compassion and absolution and redemption, and it's again you have 13,000 pages give or take to get to it,
That is so fucking funny.
and I'm like, oh, I really feel like they landed the main storyline, but every other storyline I'm like, oh, kind of disappointing.
Man.
So that was
so much.
Yes, Malazan Book of the Fallen, written by Stephen Erickson. Novels of the Malazan Empire, Ian Esselmont. I think I got that right. R.J. Barker wrote the Bone Ship trilogy, and it's like naval warfare, except in a world where they don't use wood because there's no wood that grows. Everything is made out of like sea serpent spines, like bone.
Okay, yeah.
And magic and mysticism ensue.
What do they do for fire?
Sea serpents.
How does fire exist?
They
friction still works?
Yeah, friction still works. There's some
How do they
magic.
burn?
There's I don't remember. I read it a while ago.
That's my number one question. Okay, so there's no wood, so
you
they
know
make ships out of cool big bones. Okay,
Oil.
but fire,
Oil, small plants.
I hate it.
And I'm like, the main character in this book is like, a guy who's kind of lonely and lost his way, and his best friend is like this talking bird creature. And then I like look down and I'm hugging Rosie, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh, if there's ever been a
you
talking bird creature, it's
Yeah.
this guy over here.
Yeah.
It's the Chuck.
Matt Dinniman.
The Chuckatoo.
Matt Dinniman, and I'll talk about him in a second. But favorite overall author is once again Brandon Sanderson. Book 5 in his Stormlight Archive series came out in 2024.
Wasn't he deeply ashamed of you in your haunted house?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was deeply ashamed to be in my haunted house that we read we were on the porch episode of the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
He, he's taken big swings. The book is divided instead of chapters. It's like day 1, day 2, because 10 days. And I'm on day 8 as we record this right now. And I'm like,
Does he lose the man?
mind bombs are being dropped on me.
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
like, I want to go home and finish reading this, but we're gonna go record 2 hour-and-a-half long episodes, and then I can get home and read.
But does he lose the man by the end of the 10 days?
Well, here's the thing. Not yet. I don't know
Or
if
the
he's going
guy.
to lose the man. Yeah, well, he's got to fight a shard of God at the end of 10 days. So he hopes to lose him, but so far the shard of God, Odium, has held on to him.
All right.
I got the reference you
You
were
got
going
it?
for,
Yeah.
but I got it the
Thank you.
second time. I didn't get it the first time.
Yeah, because I said man. I should have said guy.
Yeah.
How to lose a guy in 10 days.
Yeah, but Brandon Sanderson, in terms of that, and he puts on this big convention, and he's like, oh, these are my plans for the next books. So this was book 5 in the Stormlight Archive series that tie into all these other things, but these are kind of the tent poles. Book 6 is probably going to come out in 2033. And you talked about the next Fallout game will be after Finn moves
What's
out.
these fantasy guys? These fucking fantasy guys.
It's weird because I'm like, okay, well, he's writing 3 books that take place on another planet in the same universe, but some of these characters will go between, and we'll see that.
I think it's a scam, and I think all of fantasy genre writers cottoned to it pretty quickly, and they go, I got it. We're going to make these big, involved, elaborate stories that are leading to something, make you wonder, read 5 books, read 9 books, read 15 books about it.
So far it's
and
been 12,
we're all going to make a pact that we die before we finish. Just keep writing them and say, no, we're coming up with it. We're coming up with it.
It
and then
kills
let
me.
somebody else finish it and have to deal with that.
He's like, oh, during the pandemic, he wrote 4 novels, Kickstarter, most successful Kickstarter of all time. And I'm like, why couldn't they be like the 3 that you're going to
Yeah.
And,
This is
one
the
is
George
set
R.
in
R.
the far
Martin
future.
thing.
I trust him more than I trust George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
It seems like he's, even if
Sanderson hasn't been betwixt by the allure of HBO fame.
they came close to making one of his other series TV show and didn't. So
I heard Cinemax was doing it.
no.
It's filthy.
Yeah.
It's filthy.
He's I think he alludes to sex once in this book, and I'm like, whoa, calm down there, Brando
Really?
Sando.
Wow. Okay.
Like, a married couple has sex in the shower, and that's like, later, the
shower.
Yep. Well, they invented showers.
I was going to say
in the books. Yeah.
it's a fantasy world, and they got showers.
They're surprised by it as well. They're like, it's like water is falling on us, and I'm like,
We should
I guess.
fuck in it.
Yeah. I guess showers are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Favorite author for Ray or Chuck?
I don't have a favorite author.
All right.
I don't have a favorite author. I will say my last book thing real quick, so you can get back to your list here. My favorite fantasy adjacent
Nice.
book. Right. This was my attempt to kind of like a stepfather trying to,
Thank you.
take a step towards what the stepchild is interested.
Are you winning, son? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got to, showers were invented in the bone world, and I'm like, I'm out.
Different world. Different. There were no showers in the bone world. They were at sea.
No, but don't worry, it won't pay off for another 7 decades.
I was frustrated that Karsa Orlong didn't fight Acarium. That's why.
Same.
That's why I used Ray and Chuck as
Yeah.
names.
No, my favorite fantasy adjacent was Rivers of London, the series by Ben Aronovich.
Yes.
I recommended it to you because it was something when we were in England, when we were in London, I kept seeing these books like at all these different shops that we went to. The Rivers of London series were there, and I'm like, what is this? And I read the back of the first book, and it seemed interesting. And it's a fun, light. It's very light romp through a supernatural London, right?
Yeah.
In this, the reason it's called Rivers of London is because each river has a god.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's gods of all these rivers in London, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a detective who finds out that there is a department of magic, essentially, at the police. And there's one guy left. Most of them got wiped out. My favorite detail is most of them got wiped out in World War II.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fighting the dark magic of Hitler's army, right? I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And, and then it's just a light romp of like, each book is here's the main gist of getting into this murder. We got to solve this thing, but it's tricky and different. And I like what was there. And it's just, there's a lot there, right?
Yep.
And I was reading them and listening to them. I started on that Alaska trip. And I just got to a point in the trip where I was like, I've been listening to this too much and reading it too much, and I'm starting to like get mad at it. It's not its fault.
Right.
It's my fault for being in this situation where I'm like, this is my only escape, right? So, but I kind of checked out for a little while. But they're really fun, and I like that idea. I like kind of turning that thing. So, and being a fan of London, it's easy for me to be like, yeah, this is cool, you know? So yeah, that's my recommend for that.
Nice.
Now tell me more about this bone fucking.
All right, book or books. I also read it's by John Gwynne. I just wrote Of the Gods. I don't know what the actual name of the series, but it's like Wrath of the Gods, Fury of the Gods, and it's based on kind of Norse mythology instead of more the more, I guess, westernized mythology that we see in other books. But it's they're basically it's a different version of Loki and this, and they're fighting with axes, and they're wearing just the chains, and everything's cold all the time, and it is brutal, like a lot of like crazy battle scenes, and then I learned he is like a Norse war reenactor.
Oh God!
And so he and his sons will like hold the shields and poke people with spears. And I'm like, we should do that as a Funbearable episode. Tad Williams finished the Return to Ostenard, or Last King of Ostenard. Books 1 through 3 came out in the 90s.
Okay.
And a kind of prototypical fantasy. Oh, this scullery boy. Oh, he's brave. Oh, he's a king.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It took thousands of pages to tell that. But then it advanced, I think, 30 years. And it's like, hey, strange things are happening in this world again. These evil elves are rising up again, and this is happening, and what are they doing, and how are they going to break the world? And so again, like getting to revisit these characters, and it ends. The series ends, and it's not like, he died before it could be finished.
Yeah.
So that was really enjoyable. Stormlight Malazan, but man, I am I'm shocked and surprised at how much I enjoyed the Dungeon Crawler Carl series.
Oh, you've talked about
by
this,
Matt Dinneman. First of all, I'm wearing licensed merch.
Wow.
From mattdinneman.com. Briefly, it's the genre lit RPG in which you get stats like you're playing a Fallout or an RPG. It's like, okay. He put on this jacket, and it spells out like it's +5 to strength, and this tiara for the cat grants this power, and they're fighting these type of enemies, and you get descriptions of the AI that's controlling this whole thing, talking about what the enemies do, and so I was like, that's pretty weird. And I started reading it. Short version, the earth is crushed. Anyone indoors, crushed, dead. And our hero, Carl, is outside because his soon-to-be ex-girlfriend's cat, jumped out the window, and he was like, Princess Donut, come back! Princess Donut, come back! So they survive, and they're like, they hear this voice.
You think there'd be a lot of people outside.
Yeah, well, you'd think... it was, I think it's based in the Pacific Northwest, and it was 1:05 a.m.
Okay.
And
there's going to be some people outside.
Yeah, some people outside. And I'm like, shouldn't that time zones? But you have to get to a stairwell to get to the dungeon. And so if there were more people out, the thinking is the aliens controlling this would have put fewer stairwells. So they go down there and fight through, and it gets complicated, and there's secrets, and there's different alien races, and now he's fighting against basically the Hunger Games, where she's fighting against the capital for doing the Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. He's doing the same thing for all these bad aliens that are running this thing and killing people. It is full of a surprising amount of humor. The AI has a fetish for Carl's feet. And so he's like, okay. Oh, I'm so glad to put boots on. But then his, he gets a stat boost, a huge stat boost when he's not wearing shoes. And so it doesn't make any sense for him to put on shoes. and so he has to keep fighting his way through. It's a guy who was struggling with his direction in life, and his best friend is a talking cat. And I look down at Rosie, and I'm like, oh, well, this is what we are. Like, I have teared up so many times when the cat gives an emotional speech. At some point, the cat, we learn that, the ex-girlfriend was going to give away the cat. And the cat knew it. And the ex-girlfriend comes back into the picture, and the cat confronts her. And I wept reading that speech.
Wow.
And, and so the community is first of all, I've never seen a mean comment on their subreddit, which is insane. But they're all like, the audiobooks are great. And I listened to the audiobook narrator narrate that scene. And I was like, whoosh, same thing where it's about finding value in yourself and this, it's so good. And it comes in the middle of this book about an AI with a foot fetish, and you're fighting aliens who are also goblins. And it's the juxtaposition and really the amount of the breadth. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah,
the
did.
breadth and depth of what's in there.
That you fucked up.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Is so surprising to me.
Yeah.
And it was one of I read book 1 and I'm like, this is pretty good. I guess I'll keep going. And I couldn't sleep one night. And I started book 2 and I read the first third of it. And I look and it's 3:30 in the morning. And it's, as I've gotten older, finding books that have the gotta, I gotta keep reading, has gotten harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
And this series had the guy. I read the first 3 and I'm like, I have to stop because it's taken over my brain. Let me go read these Bone Ship books, which are not similar, and then come back and methadone myself one book at a time. I cannot believe how much I enjoy it. I bought the merch. I was so excited to wear it, and I'm like, oh, it's the Christmas season. I have to wear Christmas stuff. I can't wear my new Princess Posse t-shirt. Also, the unofficial fan club of Princess Donut, Donut Holes. And it's the cat, and it's her butthole as the O.
Oh,
and I'm like, well, I'm not going to wear that.
That's not okay. That's I don't like when they have to sexualize something like that. That's unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because that's clearly what it is. That's why it's the unofficial.
Yeah, right.
How many of them definitely want to bone that cat?
Well, there's a bad guy character who is a former judge at these cat shows that was sexually attracted to cats, and Princess Donut's like, I knew it wasn't, whatever. So just it's a fun series of books. I recognize it's not for everyone, but man, it is for me. And he said there'll probably be about 10 books. So we got the first 7 are already out. And, we'll just wait and see what comes next and continue to root for Princess Donut and I guess also Carl.
Nice.
Yeah. That was a lot, but I was so excited to talk about it.
If you listen, I love it. I love that for you.
Yes.
I do. I love that for you. If you asked me to name one of the titles and one detail,
Wrath of the Gods,
and they have to match.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I could do it right now.
Yep.
Fury of the Gods, Wrath of the Gods.
Yep. Good job.
Yeah, Shower of the Gods.
Yep.
Bones of the Gods. Oh, that would be good. Bones of the Gods. Yeah, they find they cut into a mountain and then they find the fossils of God, and then they're like, "Well, which God?" And then it's like, I think it was the Norses.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that something? Can we work with that?
There were Bones of the Gods in the Of the Gods trilogy.
I believe
Good job,
it,
guys.
I believe it.
I wrote it.
You guys should become a fantasy author.
I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say you've never seen me and the author of that book in the same room at the same time.
I have not.
That's true.
Yep.
Why do you think he always wears that cloak? He goes to signings, but he's so mysterious. Who do I write this to? Yeah.
Yep.
My favorite book was actually the Sum 41 thing, and I really liked. It's very boring, and I'm not going to go deeply into it. The side that was about music production and the way that a band kind of gets pulled in different directions by a label and gets pressured to make different types of music or go into a different direction, and the reasons bands in that position make specific decisions, which is so similar to film production and so similar to entertainment at any level. And I think getting real insight on that kind of stuff is always very interesting. And I've read a lot of autobiographies, but it felt like this one was a little bit more direct when it came to. So then this happened, and then this album was coming out, and because this thing was big, the label made us do this. And like, you know, like for example, like the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack was coming out, and they're like, we're not going to do a song for it. And they're like, please do a song for it. Sony is trying to get them. They're like, no, and they keep offering them more and more and more money. And they basically became like, it became irresponsible to say no, even though we didn't want anything to do with this.
Right.
And they had to do it. And then it becomes the story of what is that song and what happens. And I really like knowing about industry stuff from the perspective of the artist and the way you get pulled into things and why things happen. Because so many things happen that you're like, that's weird. And there's never a description. So I really appreciated that behind the scenes insight. And it's one of the reasons I want to read the Red Hot Chili Peppers book as well. You know, I want to find out about that as well.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I just really appreciated that from a music,
Yeah.
like production nerd perspective.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Good
I
deal.
just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So are we done with books?
I think we're done with books.
Yeah.
I think we're on to personal things.
All right, you ready?
Thing I should have tried long ago, left it blank, moving right along. Someone else can go.
For me, it was traveling so much. This year I went to the Bahamas, Toronto, Colorado, Philly, Chicago, LA, and I went to like Syracuse. I did a ton of New York City stuff all around the city that I've never done. I kayaked in the Rocky Mountains on my birthday weekend. So that kind of travel I haven't really incorporated into my life. And of course, it's like cost prohibitive sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just choose to do it or not. So I think letting go of that a little bit, the cost prohibitive part, and just being like, I'm going to do all this stuff, and I'm 40 years old. How much more time do I have to do all this stuff? It was really rewarding to have so many different experiences in different places. Some of it was filming, some of it was obviously my relationship, and it was just a lot of growth and fun.
Yeah.
I think that was a big one. And then also this year, I went to a lot of concerts of artists that I'm not super into, including Ace Frehley, Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper, and Limp Bizkit. I've never gone to see any of those people. And
You
I
said
kinda,
that you weren't super into?
Well, I mean, I liked Limp Bizkit in
Yep.
2001.
Through.
But that doesn't really represent me now exactly. But all those bands, I kind of had to do research and listen to a bunch of stuff and catch up and do it. And I think it's actually really, really fun to go kind of appreciate art that doesn't immediately grab you, because you kind of get a wider appreciation for stuff. So those two things I think were really, really good. And also I did an escape room for the first time this year. I know that's very nerdy, and it was fucking fun. I don't
That's
care.
great.
Yeah,
It was just
sure.
fun. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
What am I going to say?
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raymond?
I don't have anything for any of the personal stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird. I personally, I think it's weird to list off personal things like that. That's just me. That's my own personal thing. So there's my personal thing is writing the personal things.
I think I really like the idea from a growth perspective of looking at each year and kind of looking back on it and thinking about things where you either grew or things you like to improve. I think that there's value there.
Yeah. No. I think that's good to do, like, on a personal level. It's weird to me to like list them out and do that. That's all. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just not for me. It's all good.
Least pleasing development, continued unemployment, terrible mental health, worse than ever, spiraling forever, surprised I'm still
rhymed.
here. Surprised I'm still here. Thank you. Shout out to Rosie, my cat. On to you, Chuck.
So I have most pleasing and then least pleasing.
Yes.
You have most?
I have least and then most.
Okay, I have most and least. Obviously, the most pleasing, I think, was like I went on the cruise and I met someone and I fell in love. That's kind of the biggest thing. For me, this year, professionally, I got pulled into a project with the biggest payday that I've ever gotten professionally, working with the people at the highest tier I've ever gotten to work with, and kind of got to work more closely with someone that I've, had a relationship with for a long time and had the most responsibility as a director. Under least pleasing development, The runner-up is that project fell apart. But I think all those other
Once
aspects,
the charges came out about Diddy, it was over.
yeah. But all the aspects that I mentioned still kind of happened. You know what I mean? We just didn't get to complete it.
No, yeah.
That was my runner for least pleasing. Most pleasing, I mean, the least pleasing number one was that we didn't get a kidney for my mom from the, before. And we're still working on that. And my friend Lindsay is now really trying to see if she can be a match and a donor. And we're still looking for a kidney for my mom. So that was my actual least pleasing.
Yes.
So if anybody finds a kidney,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or finds somebody that maybe you think you could get that kidney from easily.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Easy grabbins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. What do we got next, Brad?
My most pleasing development is just realizing my rent hasn't changed and how fortunate I am.
That's true.
In a crazy housing market.
Oh, sure,
To be paying what I'm paying. So
It's crazy.
If you're
Yeah.
watching Fernando, thanks.
I know. What is up with him? Is he just not paying attention to anything?
I'm not questioning it.
I think Fernando may be dead.
No. I saw him this morning. Yesterday. 3 weeks ago.
I don't know. I mean,
2 years ago.
I mean, I saw him from a distance. He did wave, but it looked a little odd.
He had his two friends with him, one on
Yeah,
each side.
right,
He was
yeah.
wearing his customary dark sunglasses.
Yeah.
I do think.
But when Jamaican music played, he did dance.
Yes. Next up is sum up last year, 2024, in 3 words.
I don't really have
I
anything.
said deuces, kangarooses, and then I said Caleb for Caleb Williams, the new quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
I don't really have a sum
That's
up.
all I got. And then prediction for
Mine is, okay.
That's funny.
prediction for next year. I just I said dramatic and drastic change, and then I left it.
That's not good or
I
bad.
left it vague.
Prediction for next year. I want to find a kidney for my mom. That's the number one thing. And Natalie's gonna move to New York, and she gave her job kind of a final date that she's gonna leave the job by, in case if they don't transfer her, which is really cool. What else, Brad?
That's all I have for everything.
Well, I have, I just have basically looking back on the year. It's like I'm trying to think about the progress that I made in terms of professional stuff, because that's a big.
Oh, you did
course.
great.
Well, I think that some stuff moved forward. The show.
I'm happy with mine as well, Brad. Thank you.
Well, I mean, Chuck was talking, so.
Oh, I know.
Sure.
You emphasized the you in a weird way.
Yeah, well,
you did great.
You did great. You did great.
No, I'm fine.
The end.
Don't worry about it. Everything's good.
No, the show that we shot the sizzle for aired on Discovery this year, which is really cool. It's a cool thing to know. All the stuff that I was working on behind the scenes, and I hope I get to tell the story of that project at some point, because it's pretty weird. That's all really cool, and I think that opened some doors. And of course, that's continuing with the Funbearable stuff, and the Tuesday stuff, and the Tell 'em Steve Dave stuff. So that project, I hope, will kind of have legs that push forward, and I do feel like it will, which is really, really good. I mean, I have some honorable mention stuff from this year that was really nice. Very fun to do popcorn kernels with Rupert, and I'm trying to hopefully, if after really giving it some thought, which we're not done yet, figuring out the idea of the Staten Island Film Collaborative thing that we've been thinking about. Hopefully that moves forward. A lot of highlights personally because of this whole thing of being in a long distance relationship, experiencing Casa Bonita for the first time after that documentary was very, very special. A lot of amazing moments in terms of this whole thing. It's funny because when you fall in love, you have all this heightened stuff. And I think being in long distance almost makes it crazier. You know what I mean? It kind of adds a level of not, it's funny because it's not drama. It's almost the opposite. It's longing. You meet someone and if you can see them all the time, you have this normal thing. And when you don't, it just heightens it to a funny place. And so it feels like you're making more memories in a shorter amount of time, because then you have a while where you don't see each other, and then you do this. So that was really fun. Very, very thankful for that. And I have Funbearable favorites. I think the 100th episode was awesome.
Sure,
The
yeah,
live
yes.
episode.
Yes.
And I would like to say one of my favorite things of the year was our fake shirt pitches. We did an episode before we actually released our new shirts, which is another fun highlight, where we all came to the table with fake pitches.
Yep.
And I think that was like a highlight for me of the show's history. I think it was very, very funny. Child's Play episodes were great. Winter Funderland was great. Brad and his stinkers thing was great.
Oh, I was hoping that would fall to the dustbin of Funbearable history.
Making Boy Crimes an official kind of like episode
Sure,
type that we
yeah,
do, I
yeah.
think is fun. And yeah, everything was great. I think we had a lot of great moments. But I know we're trying to wrap this up because
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of my last thing with.
I like that this year noticeably more so than in previous. A lot more people at shows that I'm on or doing, and that are they're Funbearable listeners. Like
That's cool.
hearing like, oh, this person's here because they listen to the podcast is really cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, that's
a lot
great.
of fun.
Yeah, of course. That's the name of the game.
Yeah,
That's the reason.
it's Yahtzee is actually the name of the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just it's on the box. You just look
right.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Nice. Well, thank you all so much for sticking around with us for the year. And by watching this far, you've made a promise to stick with us for the years to come. Plural.
Is that binding?
Yeah.
Yeah, legally.
Yeah.
And does that include the people here right now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a ship of, is it Theseus thing? Where like, what is Funbearable? And
Yeah.
Chuck moves away and we replace him with Robo Chuck.
Yeah.
It's just,
Cyborg Chuck. I would like to do a Halloween episode where we're all versions. Someone's a ghost of someone, someone's a cyborg of someone, and maybe someone's a clone.
Okay. Of what?
or
Yourself.
Yeah. So Ray is a
I'm
clone,
a clone
of Ray.
Ray?
Yeah.
Done. I win.
And I'm a cyborg of Chuck, and he's a ghost of Brad.
Oh, it's a-
The clone is the easiest
Yeah.
one.
Clone is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could make it like a multiplicity clone.
Okay.
You're a clone of a clone of a clone.
All right. What's my thing?
You're just
because
gonna-
all the plicities had a thing.
do you remember Puddinhead?
Oh, I got to be the dumb one.
You got to be the Puddinhead clone. But yeah, we appreciate you all so much. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, send us an email, funbearablepod@gmail.com, or find us on socials @funbearablepod. Always happy to hear from all y'all.
Yeah.
Hoping you had some great media or life experiences in 2024. Let us know. We want to know about it. For Ray Harrington and Chuck Staten, I'm Brad Rohr saying thank you so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
I wonder if anybody's like low point is like that time I was accused of murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like earlier this year I had that murder trial where I was cleared of all wrongdoing.
Right, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, but
But-
I was charged with a murder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's like a high point. Well, I guess it's a low
Getting
point
off
followed
is
by
the high point.
You're right.
Yeah.
But there was a low point
was
before
like-
that.
Yeah.
On an old Chuck and Brad Chammies and Brammies episode, my prediction for next year was that someone we know would be arrested for murder.
I don't think I know someone yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think I.
How about this? What if it's somebody's low point is being arrested for murder.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's high point is getting away with murder.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah,
now that's fun.
Yeah, we could do that in this studio.
Yeah. It's a framing situation.
My high point would be being the murder victim.
Joke's on you. You're not murdering me. You're just helping me commit suicide.